Hi guys, and welcome back to Neutrality. I'm Freeman Voiles, and here at Neutrality, we are outwardly neutral and inwardly passionate. Hopefully you were able to tune into the last few episodes where I kind of went through what that is, because that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. And also, you just might learn why there's a K in front of neutrality. Because I'm quirky. So, today we're going to talk about the cult of being countercultural. And this is something that gets under my skin because everybody wants to be countercultural and everybody is a generic term. Not everybody wants to be countercultural, but I seem to think and I seem to notice that a lot of our generation likes the thought of being countercultural. We like the thought of being quirky and thinking outside the mainstream and being like a fish going up water, when in reality, like, we're all actually part of the mainstream. And a toxic trait of mine, I will say, is that I use the term cult way too loosely. But I do think that there's validity to saying, like, wanting to be countercultural is a cult. Like, I mean, most of us want to be countercultural. We want to be different. We want to be unique. And that's good. There's beauty in that because, yes, mainstream media, mainstream America, like, there are totally flaws with it. So it's a good thing that we're thinking outside the mainstream. However, when everything is countercultural, then nothing is. I've noticed left-leaning outlets saying that mainstream traditionalism is racist and sexist America. I have noticed right-wing outlets saying that the mainstream is woke and trying to brainwash us and is pro, westernization and anti-climate change, which seems like an oversimplification. I also have seen both leaning outlets saying that the other side is out to get you. Therefore, you need to be countercultural in order to combat that. I don't think that's true. I think that depending on where you were grown up in, that's your culture. If you were grown up in a conservative home, your culture is conservatism. If you were grown up in a liberal home, that is your culture as well. I wouldn't say that there is one true culture for everyone because we were all raised differently. I think it's true to say that yes, America has been historically racist, it has been historically sexist, and capitalism has a lot of flaws. I also think it's true to say that mainstream media objectively leans left. Objectively, our universities have leftist ideologies. These are things that don't make me one or the other to admit. You're going to notice that a lot of my philosophies really test what you might see as left versus right. I see the merit in both, and I see truth in both, and I also see flaws in both. Being intentionally provocative and intentionally countercultural for the sake of it actually weakens your credibility, because if you're arguing for something, it's unlikely that you actually know what you're arguing for and why you're arguing for it. If you're arguing for LGBTQ rights for the sake of being countercultural in a regressive world, you're likely not going to have the passion and the knowledge that you need to be considered credible. On the flip side, if you are advocating for, say, the nuclear family, for the sake of advocating against wokeism, you probably don't have the passion and the intellect and the knowledge and the proof that you need in order to be credible, in order to be a knowledgeable source on the topic of the traditional nuclear family. Hopefully that makes sense. I would encourage you guys to reject participating in spaces that pride themselves on being countercultural because it likely shows a flawed sense of the culture itself. The culture is not just wokeism. The culture is not just regressive, anti-woman, anti-diverse thought, right? The culture is actually a very, very complex culture to be a part of. So to be countercultural, in my opinion, is meaningless because culture is so complex. It has so many elements. There's so much fascinating different cultures that we're all experiencing. Because if we're different for the sake of being different, then when the day comes that we actually have something to say, something that is actually different, we might be waved off as the boy who cried wolf. If you were different in your class because you're a contrarian, but you didn't really care about the subject, then one day when you do care about the subject, people might wave you off as being a contrarian. This has happened to me. I love being a contrarian. If everybody is saying the sky is blue, I'm probably going to be the one to say, is it? Just because, that's fun. And, it triggers people. So, there's fun and beauty in that. However, sometimes it benefits us to stick to the culture. Sometimes there's beauty in the culture. And unless it is a really calculated effort at going against the norm, at going against the mainstream that you have noticed has issues, I would encourage us to just lay low, be neutral, just chill. As Taylor Swift said, you need to calm down. There's no need to get upset at everything, because the truth is, when you do actually find something that upsets you, people will tune you out. Being neutral has a lot of benefits. I've noticed that the quiet people who speak up when they have something to say and when they have something to contribute to the conversation, and who disagree with and are strong about certain things, are more likely to be listened to because they don't just speak because they like the sound of their own voice. Think about that person in your family who is quiet. When they speak up and when they are clear about something, you listen. Versus the person who is always dominating the conversation, seems to just love the sound of their own voice. We're a lot less likely to listen to that person. So I would encourage you to be that person that observes and absorbs rather than always liking the sound of your own voice. Because, like I said, people will eventually tune you out as the boy who cried wolf. And yes, countercultural, inflammatory people are more likely to get attention, money, fame, laughs, followings, almost anything good in life, or at least materially, because they attract people, because that's provocative. But if we could get back, I'm gonna keep saying this, if we can get back to what it means to understand our consciences and understand what drives us and to follow that intuition, our society would be so much better off. So, hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully you are now aware of why we should not cling on to people and groups and ideologies for the sake of being countercultural. Because there's goodness in our culture, and unless we have deep thought and care associated with those ideologies, then we're being countercultural for the sake of being countercultural, which is the same stupidity in following the culture for the sake of following the culture. You're not better than someone who is thoughtlessly following the culture if you thoughtlessly go against the culture. Both are thoughtless, both are careless, and both are dumb. So, and neutrality is ultimately about meshing the positive aspects of society and working through the negative aspects of society. You don't have to be crazy in order to be heard, in order to be appreciated, in order to be understood. Because I'm here and I want to hear you and I want to understand you and I want to appreciate you. And what's truly countercultural is having an open mind. I hope that made sense, and I hope you guys will stay tuned because I have so much more to say about literally everything. Until next time, stay neutral.